StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are picking up on our series here of why you are in fear of success. So before we get into that, I'm going to remind you of two things. First, the daily motivation text I send out every day, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point. Text me at my number 305-384-6894. Again, it's in my text community. It is free of charge. Once you get in there, we'll tell you what your options are. Again, if you don't get an immediate response, we're just working out some tech issues that will soon be fixed. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is a place where I do all my coaching. It's the only place I do any coaching. If you would like to have me as your direct coach, all you have to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can talk to us about where you're at, what you're working on, what you feel like might be in your way. We see you as a good fit and we feel that we can help you. Then we'll tell you what the options are that you have in front of you, and we will go from there. Again, that is workonyourgameuniversity.com. With all that out of the way, let's pick up where we left off. Again, we are picking up on our series of why you are in fear of success, maybe consciously or unconsciously. We're picking up on point number 22 of our series here. Number 22, a loss of balance. Now, balance is a tricky term based on the way that it's used in our society today. The way that balance is often used socially in conversation is that people seem to think balance means a 50-50 trade-off between things, or even a split amongst a number of things when there's more than two of them. So let's say it's 4, and it's 25, 25, 25, 25. It's two things, 50-50. I disagree, however. That is not what balance actually means. Balance simply means that everything has to add up to 100. Right? That's all balance means. Balance means everything needs to add up the way it is supposed to. And let's see if we can get a definition of the word balance. I didn't look this up before, so I'm going to look it up here and let's see if my definition fits what the dictionary says. Now, this says, balance says definition of balance is an even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady. So that's like the literal standing up balance. Then it says a condition in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportions. So it's basically giving you two options here. And this is the definition we're going to work off of. Again, it says a condition in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportions. So equal means 50-50. But the correct proportions, that introduces a relative term, which is correct. And you get to choose what the balance is. So balance does not mean always 50-50. Balance can mean 90-10, depending on what the situation is. All right, so if you are playing on a basketball team, for example, with LeBron James as your teammate, there should not be a 50-50 balance between how much you have the ball and how much LeBron has the ball. He should probably have the ball about 95% of the time and you about 5%. The balance is 95-5. That's the correct proportion based on his ability and your ability, right? That is a balance, because that balance adds up to 100 and is the proper proportions based on who's who, what's what, and who's capable of doing what. And it makes the most sense when it comes to the goal. The goal is winning the game. So who has a better chance? Who should have the ball in their hands if we want to win the game? Probably the guy who's the best player, all right, which will probably be LeBron. Okay, so when we talk about balance here, it does not mean that you need to be evenly distributed amongst every aspect of your life. You just need to be distributed in the proper proportions in your life. Can we agree that some aspects of your life are more important than other aspects? I think we can. And this is where I challenge the concept when people say how you do anything is how you do everything. It's bullshit. No, it's not. I don't do anything the same way that I do everything. All right, the effort that I put into emptying the dishwasher is not the same as the effort that I put into recording the show, because they are not equally valuable. They do not mean as much equally. So the effort I put into that is 1% of the effort that I put into this. Why? Because this one matters more. So it's not how you do anything, it's how you do everything. I get the direction of that concept, which is if you're going to be serious about something, be serious about it. Don't half-ass over here and then try to turn on and get over there. I get the direction of that concept, but in a literal sense, it's not true. And people say it as if it's to be meant literally. And I don't believe that, first of all, not that I don't believe, I know that it does not literally translate. And even the people who preach it do not live it. They say it, but they don't live it. How I do anything is not how I do everything. All right, there are certain things in my life that I put much more focus, much more attention, much more energy into because they matter more to me, and that is a balance. That is a proportionate distribution of resources based on the value of an activity or a thing in my life, and this is the exact same thing in your life. So we can agree that some aspects of your life are more important than others, right? Which means some aspect of your life should only get some resources compared to others getting a lot of resources. And this makes logical sense. But does this make logical sense? Of course it does. But keep in mind, most human beings are not logical, all right, especially when they're in an emotional state. That's why I'm here to help you. So a lot of people think they're going to lose balance. So if I become more successful, then, and let's just talk about this more directionally than literally. Some people will think something like, okay, for me to be more successful, I'm going to have to spend more time at work, which means maybe I'll spend less time with my significant other. Maybe I'm not going to the gym as much. I don't have as much time to hang out and relax. I can't spend as much time with my kids. Now, do those things happen? Oh, they absolutely do. All right, there are members of Work on Your Game University who I talk about these exact challenges with that I've created this much success in my professional life, but the trade-off of that, notice this, trade-offs, no perfect scenarios, only trade-offs, is that the balance has been disturbed because I'm putting so much on into this part that I'm putting less into my home life, less into my kids, less into my fitness, less into my time to read books and develop myself, less into the time I'm spending with my significant other. I need to get that back in the right type of balance. And the right type of balance does not always mean 50-50. Right type of balance could be 75-25, but right now is about 95-5. Okay, so we got to shift things a little bit and we got to move 20% from here to there. That is the proper balance. So balance doesn't always just mean, again, definitely not even between everybody. It just means the proper amounts. And sometimes you can lose that balance in order to achieve success. And here's what I'll tell you, that in order for you to achieve significantly at a significantly higher level than where you are right now, I would venture to guess you probably will be out of balance for some time in order to do it. Because in order for you to get there, you're going to have to put more resources probably into what you have put into than what you're putting in right now. You'll have to, because that's the only way you're going to get to that level. And once you do that and you get to that level, now you can reshift. Once you get things kind of steady and you get things kind of normalized over in that area where you wanted to achieve, now you can kind of take a little bit back while still maintaining. But it takes some strategic planning and systemizations of what you're doing in order to do that. And it starts with having a mindset that it's okay for me to be a little bit out of balance, so to speak, in these areas for a while so that I can get here. Then once I get here, then we can shift everything back as it needs to be. Point number 23. We're talking here today about why you may be in fear of success. Number 23 is isolation. This is one that we have touched on from several different angles already in this series. And I want you to notice that many of the things that we're talking about when it comes to people fearing success have nothing to do with the actual tangible outcomes or the tangible processes that are the results of or the requirements to achieve success. Are you noticing that? Most of the things we're talking about have nothing to do with the actual process of creating success or even the actual results of success, not the direct results of it, let's say. It's often about the feelings that people have around success or the creation of success or the process of achieving success and what they think it will be like when they become successful, even when they haven't gotten there yet. You would be surprised if you really consciously thought about how often people think themselves out of things before they have actually done or experienced even 1% of the thing that they just decided they're not going to do. They haven't done any of it, but they decide I'm not going to do it because they thought through what they think is going to be like. And before they do anything, boom, they just say, all right, I'm not going to do it anymore. Many people stop themselves from doing things in life because they have artfully created a story in their minds about how it will go, what will happen, and they never even take the first step towards doing it. Because they've created a story in their minds. Again, it's a story. It's not that you know how it's going to be because you haven't experienced it. You remember, you don't know something until you've done it. So people think that they know how things are going to go when they don't actually know, convince themselves that they do know, and then the thing that they claim that they know that they don't know is a bad story that basically tricks you out of doing the thing that you thought you were going to do. This is why I can confidently say that most people try things somewhere between 0 and 1 time. Now, how is that possible? You could try something half of a time. Well, I said most people. So when you average it all together, most people think about things that they might do, think themselves out of doing it, and do nothing. So their times attempting something is 0. And then you got a few people who will think about something and actually try it one time. It doesn't work out and they quit. So you average together all the zeros and all the ones, and you get somewhere between 0 and 1 as the outcome. That's the average number of times most people try things, between 0 and 1. Most people try things 0 times, again, and then everybody else 1 time. Only the exceptional few try things more than once. Only the exceptional few try things more than once. And usually when it comes to creating anything that smells like success, you'll probably need to try more than once, because it's usually not going to happen on the first try unless you happen to be extremely lucky or extremely talented. Most people are not both of those, and you're not both of those. You're not either one of those every day or in everything. Point number 24. We're talking here today about why you may fear success. We're continuing our ongoing series here. Point number 24 in our series, changing values. Again, values. This is another funny term that people throw around a lot, but often don't even know what it means, even for themselves. I was talking to someone not long ago, and this person was saying, well, I want to meet someone who I could possibly be in a relationship with. And I said, okay, well, what type of person do you want to meet so that you can get in a relationship with them? And this person said, well, Dre, I want to meet someone who has the same values as me. I want to have shared values with this individual. I said, okay, that's great. What are your values? And their answer was the same as what you just heard. Leave that gap of space there. Leave that right there. Their answer was exactly what you heard. They didn't have an answer. They didn't know what their values were. So they were so used to saying that term. I want to meet someone who has the same values as me. That's okay. What's your values? They didn't have an answer. See, people throw these terms around and never even consider what do they actually mean. And values, this is one of those terms. People say it, but they never thought about what theirs are. And again, somebody said, I want to meet somebody. And people say this often when they're talking about relationships. I want to meet someone who has shared values with me. And you don't even know what they are. And this person laughed at themselves when they realized that they didn't actually have an answer to the question, but they were so used to habitually saying that same phrase because they hadn't even thought about their values. Many people are just as guilty of this as this person is who I'm referring to from this conversation. And values is just one of the terms. I may think of a couple others that people throw out there. Maybe you have some in mind right now, but people throw this stuff out there often don't even know what these things mean. If you're going to use words, folks, know what they mean. All right, you just look at the dictionary. Dictionary still matters. And a dictionary will tell you what a word means, or if you have found yourself habitually, next time you catch yourself habitually saying a word and you don't even know if you know what it means, look up the word and make sure that the word means what you think it means when you're using it. And once you look it up, you might decide to use a different word because you realize that that word doesn't actually fit what you're trying to communicate, even to yourself. So listen to episode 2385, where I explain why the dictionary matters. A dictionary still matters, has always mattered, and it will always matter as long as they don't go making it malleable like Wikipedia, where people can just change what a word means. They did that with a few things. We're not going to get into that today. But the dictionary does matter, folks, as long as it stays in its current form. So what are your values? Many people, again, just as guilty. So if you don't know what your values are, then you don't need to even worry about your values changing over time because you never had any in the first place. So for many of you, this won't be thrown in the trash. But for those of you who do actually have values, all right, your job is to figure out how you can become more successful while still adhering to your personal values. So lay out what your values are. Your values should be written down on paper to where you can look at them. And when you have your values written down on paper to where you can look at them, your job is to figure out how you can become successful again while still being that person of those values. All right, is there anything that could possibly happen? This is all you got to ask yourself. Look at each value you have written down, documented, and ask yourself, is there anything that can possibly happen in my journey to success that would cause me to consider violating this value? And if so, what is it? And maybe if you know someone who has already created that level of success, or if they're on the same journey as you, share with them, hey, here are my values, this, whatever they are. Is there anything that can possibly happen on this journey that could cause me to want to or consider or think about violating one of these values? If so, what is it and what can we do about it now so that I can get out ahead of this? Remember what I told you in the previous entry of the series, that humans can adapt to pretty much anything, and we adapt a lot better and a lot more quickly when we know it's coming. It's harder to adapt to things when we don't see them coming. We still adapt, but it's harder to adapt when we don't see it coming. When we see something coming, we usually adapt pretty well. So again, the good thing about the world we live in today is that you can create success from damn near any angle that you wish. You can create it doing damn near anything with damn near anyone and in any place. So your limitations for the most part have been removed. The only limitations you really have are the ones you create in your own head. But you can create success pretty much doing anything. There were times when people said, well, I'm an artist, I can't make any money because art doesn't make any money. There was a time that was, I mean, it wasn't a literal reality, but a lot of people believed it, and there was a lot of evidence to point towards it because it wasn't so easy to make money with art. These days, it's a lot easier to do it. It's a lot easier to access people who want to buy art, and it's a lot easier to access people who want to sell it. I'm just using that as an example. But a lot of our limitations when it comes to how we can make money doing things have been removed. My background is as a pro athlete. And the world that I came up in sports, there was a clear hierarchy. You played recreational ball, then you played for your high school, and then you played college, and you played pro. There were no other options. There were no branches on that tree where you could go do something different. Now you can play high school ball, never even try to play college ball, and you can become a professional YouTuber or TikToker or Instagrammer or influencer, and you can make a full-time living just doing that without ever climbing the ladder of being a official basketball player playing in some official league. So you got options now. You have options that, and the old options, the hierarchy still exists. We just got new options added in. So now there's more space for more people to get involved. And the good thing is there's no limit to how many people can be influencers. There's a limit to how many people can play on the Lakers. There's not a limit to how many people can be having a YouTube channel. Right? So there are more options out there these days than there ever were. If you're an arts and crafts person, now they got this website called Etsy, and you can sell your arts and crafts on Etsy. You don't have to go into any marketplace. You don't have to go through any what do they call them, gatekeeper. You don't have to go have a meeting with Target and see if they'll put your stuff on their shelves. You can sell your stuff straight from your house on Etsy and ship it right from your local post office right to your customers. You can make a full-time living doing that without ever meeting or shaking anybody's hand. You don't have to do it. So a lot of our limitations, rather, have been removed. So when it comes to your values, maybe the things that you thought you might have to go against, that you didn't want to go against in order to achieve success, a lot of them, those are no longer real barriers because you can achieve success basically on your own terms these days. That was not always the case. 25 years ago, if you wanted to create certain successes in certain industries, you had to do it based on someone else's terms. These days, you can create pretty much any success you want on any terms that you decide to create, as long as they're within the confines of the law. You can pretty much create success however you want. So for most of you, two things. Number one, for most of you, you don't even know what your values are, so you don't have to worry about violating them. And for the rest of you who do know what your values are, there is a way that you can create success while still adhering to those values. And there are probably people out there who are already doing it. So just go find them and use them as models for what you're doing. Or come in to work on your game university, and I'll help you understand how you can still create success regardless of whatever your values are. As long as you're clear on them, we can create success. So we just need a framework to work off of, and I will help you with that. That out the way, let's recap today's class, which is we are continuing our series here on why you may be afraid of success. Number 22, loss of balance. Balance is a tricky term based on the way it's used in our society today. A lot of people think it means 50-50 or an even distribution, but it does not. Well, it does, but another aspect of the definition is proper proportion. So proper proportion just means that a certain amount goes where it should go, and that does not always mean even. Again, if you were teammates with LeBron James on the basketball team, it doesn't mean you and him should both get the ball at the same amount of time. He should probably have it a lot more than you do because that helps reach the goal of winning the game. Number 23, isolation. We touched on this from different angles. And again, a lot of what we talk about in this series is people's feelings and your projected feelings about how things will go, not how they actually go. And you don't have to worry about being isolated when it comes to creating success, because you will meet other people, even if the people who are with you right now are no longer around. And a lot of people never try to get to success, again, because they have created these stories in their head that didn't even happen that are blocking them from success. You're thinking you're going to be isolated when you get there. There are other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, trust me, and you will make new friends even if you happen to lose your old ones, and some of your old ones will come along with you. Number 24, changing values. There's another funny term that people throw out there a lot, but often don't even know what it means even for themselves. And again, I was talking to someone who said, I want to meet someone with shared values. And then I said, okay, what are your values? They didn't know the answer. So many of you have that same situation. You don't even know what your values are, but those of you who do, you can create success on your terms these days while still adhering to whatever values you have and whatever values you decide to create moving forward. That said, folks, make sure you text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the place I do all my coaching. You want to have me as your direct coach, there is an opportunity for you to get that. All you got to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. We got some group options. We got some one-on-one options. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all